Well, Chris, you and I have been talking about the swamp for a few months now, and I'd like to ask, what is the single most important element in the swamp? If you could boil it down to one thing.
It's the water. The water. Everything revolves around water. Yeah, it's the lifeblood of the swamp. It really is, to support the vegetative communities, the diversity of the habitats, to support the diversity of the wildlife.
Well, I'm going to ask, because it's been dry this summer, and so the swamp is not as wet as it has been. How does that affect the diversity and the climate, that all the ecosystem and the wildlife and such?
Yeah, well, the thing is it has a natural hydrologic cycle, right, through the seasons. It runs through the seasons. It has its wet season, its dry season. We're certainly in the dry season. And I think the thing with, like this year with the reduced precipitation, the swamp is very dry, the water table's low. And I think the most significant impact that could cause is if we get that lightning strike and the wildfire starts, that soil that we have, that peat soil, dries out and is very susceptible to burning. But as far as the forest goes, it's very resilient. It can tolerate, the drier and the wetter conditions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of the peat, you've got jars of water over there, and you had shared with me that first jar represents what comes into the swamp.
That's right. Yeah, this is just a jar of water that rainfall, and it flows into the swamp off the Suffolk Escarpment, which is actually a geological formation on the coastal plain of Virginia.
Okay.
And that water comes off that little hill and into the swamp. As it goes through the swamp,
and encounters the peat.
And it encounters the peat soil, which is just the leaves and twigs that have fallen to the ground over the years and not decomposed.
Because it's in water.
Because it's wet. And
no oxygen.
No oxygen and less decomposers. And over time, as it runs through the swamp, it gets darker and darker. It's like a tea, the tea bag, making tea.
Away.
Seeping, right.
Yeah.
And so it gets, it just gets darker as it flows generally west to east or southeast. Yeah.
How does it affect, I'll say, the aquatic life, though, all the tannins in that water?
Yeah, so it's very acidic. And so actually, like Lake Drummond, it's very acidic water. It makes it low productivity, right? So there's not a lot of microorganisms, the primary producers, that then allow for, the fish to eat and so forth. So it is low productivity. And the sunlight can't reach the bottom to grow the plants, the aquatic vegetation.
But the water itself is still very pure?
Yeah, it is. It's not dirty. It's not murky. It's just the way it is. And there's literature that says they used, hundreds of years ago, they would barrel this water up. They would put it in barrels and take it across the ocean because it didn't have, it wouldn't go bad and get algaed up because, again, the low productivity.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Well, I know one thing that will grow in that water, and that is bald cypress, which is one of the primary plants of the swamp. And I see that you've brought a bald cypress knee to us.
Move these over here.
I don't think everybody's familiar with this plant.
Right. So bald cypress historically was one of the dominant forest types in the swamp, and used for, it was timbered and it was logged out to build homes and ships and barrels and things. And so one of the unique things is these can live in water, in a lot of water. These bald cypress will grow out of Lake Drummond that could be 400 to 600 years old if you were to get out there and see those. And so this is called a cypress knee, which is part of the root system of the cypress. Because it grows in the water and there's very limited oxygen, their root system will actually grow back up out of the ground into the air and capture the oxygen to feed the tree.
Interesting, because that water, of course, has so little oxygen in it that's available for the plant. That's interesting. Do you know about how many bald cypress trees you have in the, I'll even say in the Lake Drummond area? I'm not giving you all 113,000 acres, but hundreds, thousands?
Thousands, yeah. Yeah, there's thousands. And as far as a forest community, in the 113,000 acres, we do have about 10,000 acres of still a bald cypress and Tupelo gum forest, which like that wetter condition.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what else is living in this high water environment with these bald cypress and with the acidic water? What else, wildlife-wise, can survive in that? You're saying the fish were low. Well, what about our more terrestrial critters and such?
Yeah, so we have 47 different species of mammals, okay, and a large population of reptiles and amphibians, turtles, snakes, lizards, salamanders, because it is that swampy environment. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to walk through there at night.
No, it's awfully dark, and yes, and you never know what you might run into at night, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of beware of bears signs around when I was there in March. So.
Oh, come on. Yeah, we do have the highest density of bears in the state. Yeah, it's very good bear habitat, but it's okay. The bears, they're as scared of you as you are of them, Peggy.
I don't know about that. Anyway, but you said that you have the highest bear density, but you are basically an island in the middle of a highly dense population of the state. The Hampton Roads, the whole Virginia Beach area is so densely populated, and yet there's the Great Dismal Swamp Wildlife Refuge. So.
Yes, this oasis of forest habitat that does provide, and being in the mid-Atlantic, it's just, in the migratory corridor. We have really our habitat for birds, songbirds, raptors, waterfowl. If you're lucky and you go out to Lake Drummond in the wintertime, you could see thousands of tundra swans or snow geese just roosting on Lake Drummond. It's I have been fortunate to see it twice. It's beautiful.
Sounds beautiful. We're going to end with that vision because I think that's a great way for people to think of Lake Drummond. So thank you for being with us.
Wonderful. Thank you.